Hi, I'm Pastor Hank. It's good to be with you again this week. You know, the Apostle Paul said that those of us who are strong, we ought to help those who are weak. In the Greek, that word weak depicts somebody who is depleted of power due to something they've experienced or gone through. I think we've all been there, haven't we? You know, I think what Paul was trying to tell us is we need to be sensitive to each other's needs. And when we see somebody struggling, having a hard time, we ought to try to help them get through that battle. Hey, I want to share part of a message with you where I'm talking about that. I've titled it, Help Somebody, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Romans 15:1. We then, who are strong, ought to bear the infirmities of the weak and not to please ourselves. Holy Spirit, use me for a couple minutes here and just let me speak from the heart of God. I feel like I already delivered a message, but I had some thoughts. I wanted to throw some things out to you. You know, we're talking a lot about family. We're hearing a lot about family, and we forgot to do the clip there. But anyway, we'll do it. We'll do it next week, okay? But anyway, I got to thinking about family, and you know, this Christmas tree. Everybody that puts an ornament on there, I was looking at all the ornaments a while ago, they represent somebody. They represent a family or a person. And, you know, the truth is God cares about every one of us as individuals. And the main thing that's good about a family, now I don't know about you, some of you came from real good families, had a mom and a dad, but, you know, some of us didn't. Some of us had broken families and broken things and pieces and stuff, and you know, but thank goodness we as a church here, we're becoming a family, the family of God. And I got to thinking about this. What's so good about a family? Well, a family watches out for each other. A family, I mean, you know, I might not like something somebody in my family does, but we're still blood, and you know, I still care about them, and I still watch out for them, and I still want the best for them. And that's the good thing about families, isn't it? A lot of us come, and maybe we don't have a family that we can celebrate with at Christmas time, but we do have a family here. We do have something here that, you know, I was one time I was sitting there and I was watching on TV. I was at the car lot when I had car business going, and somebody had just inherited this millions and millions of dollars. And I said, you know, Lord, I don't even have anybody, if they died, they could leave me any money. And he said, I'm your father, and I own it all. And I can give it to you anytime I get ready to give it to you. And my whole perspective changed. And I'm saying here, you know, we are so glad, and maybe you're watching this online today, but if maybe you don't have a family, maybe you don't have somebody that you can connect with in the holiday seasons or any time, but you do here. We'll be a family, and we'll care for each other, and we'll watch out for each other, and we'll hold each other up. You know, a family. I'm just glad I've got a family. I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for the relatives I have. If any of you watching us online, I love you. I'm glad you're my family, but God's doing something here. He's doing something in our heart. Paul says something here. He says, we then, when we are strong, we ought to help. We ought to help those infirmities. Help those that are weak. And not just please ourselves. I was thinking about this thing. And, you know, how many know from time to time we all wrestle with things? You know, if we're not careful, it says, we then who are strong ought to bear the infirmities of those who are weak. How many know sometimes we get the idea that so-and-so is so strong and I'm so weak. And, pastor is so strong. But, if I were just like brother so-and-so, or if I were just like sister so-and-so. But, the truth is we all vacillate. Some days I'm strong and some days I'm weak. Are you with me? Some days I feel like I can conquer the world, and some days I feel like, man, I don't know if I even want to go out and show my face. Some days I'm high and flying, and some days I'm low and digging that valley, digging that trench. You aren't that way? Huh? You just stay up all the time? See, if we're not careful, we get the idea that if we were just like somebody, if we were just like the apostles, you get to reading some of these stories in this book, they had some times when they felt pretty weak too. And we all have those times, and we all go through the same stuff. We all have the same kind of difficulties. We might be on a different level spiritually, but we all go through, because we all have the same enemy. But we all have the same God, and He loves us all. And so Paul's talking here, and what I heard him say is, Hank, when you're strong, you ought to help those that have infirmities, those that are weak. And then when you're weak, I'll have somebody that's strong help you. Well, it says, when we then who are strong ought to bear the infirmities of the weak and not please ourselves. Take just a minute and ask yourself, do you know somebody that maybe is going through a difficult time? Do you know somebody that's maybe struggling? Everybody look at the person beside you. Look at the person in front of you and back of you. It won't be very long till there won't be any empty seats there to look at. You'll have to look at, because everybody wants to connect with a family. Everybody wants to be part of a group that somebody really cares. None of us, we're all tired of the phony stuff. And we're all tired of the fake smiles and the phony baloney but everybody wants to be part of something that's real. I think maybe that's what we're learning around here, is we're starting to be real. I'm almost embarrassed to speak this message today because you guys are so good. I hear stories every day of so-and-so helped so-and-so, and I was really down in the dumps, and so-and-so called me and picked me up, and I was needing this, and just out of the clear blue, somebody just came. Can I tell you, it wasn't out of the clear blue. God just spoke to somebody's heart, and they came and did it for you. Or they came and told you that. And so Paul's saying here, he's saying, hey, he said, do you know somebody, that person that you looked at a few minutes ago, they might be struggling. Oh, we all know how to come to church and put our faith face on, don't we? We all smile, don't we, Jimmy? Yeah, we all smile, and we all know how you doing? Oh, we're doing great. And inside you going, I'm terrible. I'm just doing terrible. I'm just having a terrible time. I don't know if I'm going to make it. But we all got to smile because we come to church, and we got to have faith, and we got to look like, some days I just don't look like. I was in the store here a while back, and somebody said, hi, aren't you Pastor Hank? And I said, yeah. And they said, you look happier when I see you on TV. I said, well, I apologize. I'll get a smile on my face. But I said, some days I'm just human. Some days you're that way too. But ask yourself, do you know somebody that's struggling? Especially when we go through Christmas season, holiday seasons. Some of us have lost loved ones. Some of us have had bad relationships. Some of us have been divorced. Some of us have just been sick. Some of us, we just all struggle at times. And I've learned that when you're struggling or when I'm struggling, the enemy tries to make me think that I'm the only one that's going through something like that. So there must be something wrong with me. And then we spend the next 3 days saying, oh, God, forgive me, forgive me, forgive me. Can I tell you something? He already forgave you. He already knows how crummy I am. He already did it. While I was that terrible and that despicable, while I was that way, He gave His Son Jesus for me. So He must not be holding it against me. And usually whenever we're hurting, whenever we're going through something, we want to withdraw. We want to... See, that's not an accident, folks. That's enemy territory. I don't want to get around anybody. You know, I used to have a cat. It's been about 13 years ago now. She was named Tiger. I named her Tiger because she was afraid of everything. And so I was trying to build her self-image. So I named her Tiger. And after I called her Tiger for a while, she thought she could wrestle a coon or anything, boy. A possum come up or something, boy, she'd just take out after it, you know. Building her esteem up. But that cat, I noticed that every time that she was hurt or didn't feel good, she would run, and I couldn't find her. And she'd be curled up in a closet or curled up over in a corner behind something. Anytime she was hurting, she'd be withdrawn and she'd be separated, and I'd have to hunt her out. Folks, we're not supposed to be that way. But that's a natural tendency. When I'm hurting, I'm not going to go to church today because I don't want people to see how I really am. And I just, you know, and we just withdraw. But you know, it ought to be the opposite. When we're hurting is the time we ought to try to be around more people. That's hard. That's easy preach. But it's hard to do. But I've started making my tendency, my nature is to just I could just get kind of by myself somewhere. I could just go get in a cave and live for months and years, you know, and just be happy, just be whistling, you know. But I don't want to be that way anymore. So now I'm trying to turn that around, and I'm learning that when things are going bad for me, when I'm discouraged, when I'm down, I try to get around people because God's going to use somebody to pick me up. Why? Well, because that's what I try to give. I try to give that all the time. I'm getting ahead of myself here, and if I give, that's how I'm going to receive. See, you thought a while ago that just applied to your money, but no, that applies to everything in our life. The word ought here says, you who are strong ought to bear the infirmities. That word ought means to be morally obligated to do something as an obligation. So in other words, what Paul's saying is here, you're obligated. When you see somebody down, when you see somebody discouraged, you're obligated. You're obligated. I mean, after all, has anybody ever came and helped you? Have they? Well, then you're kind of obligated to help somebody else. Because what you went through, they're going through too. And you went through it and made it, so you know that you can make it. You just need to tell them that they can make it. You don't have to know the whole Bible to quote it to them. You just need to encourage them. An obligation. I'm obligated to do it. Obligated because I've been blessed so abundantly. You know, I'm obligated to serve God. You know, I ought to serve Him. I'm obligated. He's done so much for me that I tell Him all the time, God, if you never do anything else for me again, which I say that because I know that's an impossibility. God can't. So God can do anything. No, God can't not be good to you. So it makes me feel all humble and spiritual to say, oh, God, if you never did anything for me again. But, and he just finally says, why don't you quit saying that? You know I'm going to. You're not going to get me to do it anymore. I'm already going to do it as much as you'll let me. But I kind of was thinking about this message, and if I could title this thing, it'd just be help somebody. And why don't you just help somebody? And that's what I tell myself every day. Every day now when I get up, I say, why don't you help somebody today? Why don't you do? I'm obligated to do that because God's been so good to me. And who do you do this for? Those that are weak, those that are infirmity. The word infirmity, the word infirmities here describes somebody who is weak, powerless, or struggling in some way, whether it be physically or emotionally or maybe financially. Infirmity, somebody who's struggling. See, this verse is telling me, why don't you help somebody that's feeling overwhelmed today? I don't know, maybe some of you came in here feeling a little bit overwhelmed. I know you already fooled everybody around you, and if you'll notice that you came in and you put that smile on, even though you didn't feel like smiling, and you started talking and listening to people, and all of a sudden you really weren't overwhelmed again, and you're going to have to really try hard to get that overwhelmed feeling back. I mean, you're going to have to really try hard after this service to be down. I mean, you just have to go, God, I'm going to be down. I don't care what Hank says. You say, well, that sounds silly, but isn't that kind of the way we are sometimes? Don't try to cheer me up. God's saying, help somebody. Infirmities. Somebody who's weak, powerless, struggling in some way, physically or emotionally. The word weak here, it depicts those who are depleted of power to do something. They're depleted of power to do something because of something that they've experienced or something they've gone through. Isn't that what life does to us sometimes? Our experiences just wear us down. Huh? What we go through something hard. Some of you have been through something difficult this week, and we've just let this thing deplete us of all of our power. We've experienced it, we've felt it, we've went through it. Well, let me just say something. Life is going to always do that to you. You just have to decide which side you're going to get on. I mean, my earlier years of my life, I was depressed a lot. Spent a lot of my life depressed, and some of you can identify with that. But I had to learn to think different. I had to learn to get on the other side of that hump. Oh, I still have chances. I still have opportunities to get discouraged, and I still get down. And sometimes I stay down for 4 or 5 minutes. Not because I'm strong. Oh, but because He's strong. Huh? Not because I did something right, but because He did everything right. So, when I'm feeling strong, I ought to help those who are weak and feeling powerless, and they're struggling, and they feel overwhelmed because of something they've just been through or something they've just experienced. I ought to help them. I ought to do something for them. I ought to try to encourage them. Let me ask you some questions here. When you see somebody down, do you draw towards them or do you get away from them? Now, you might not actually do this, but you know what I'm saying. You do something inside. If I see you hurting, I either go like this or I kind of, go like that. And you can look and you can tell somebody when somebody's shining you on. You can tell somebody when they've left you. You can tell somebody when they say, I love you, but their eyes and their actions say everything the opposite. You can tell the difference. So when you see somebody struggling, is something in your heart pull you towards them? Or does it make you resist? I heard somebody here, it's been a while back, and I heard them talking, and they were mad at somebody, and they were blaming this person for all those things the situations that they'd been having in their life, and all the stuff, and they were just this and that, and I sit there and I thought for a minute, and I thought, you know what? They haven't hurt bad enough. I didn't say it out loud, but I just thought it. I thought, they haven't hurt bad enough. So what do you mean, Hank? I said, well, because when you hurt bad enough, you don't want anybody else to hurt. Huh? When you hurt bad enough, you see somebody and you even sense it, and God will even show you when somebody's having a difficult time. And you see that, and something in you, though, and you might not always be able to do something, but something in you wants to. Are you with me? That's the way Jesus was. He said, I'd do greater things than him. I was planning on shooting lightning. Huh? Being spiritual. Oh, but to do greater things than him, this means that I maybe should care about people more than he did. Maybe I should just try to help more people than he did. Oh, I couldn't do that, Hank. Well, if you're at least trying to, you're going to help more people than if you're not trying to. But you know, I'm not giving any great spiritual truths here. And again, I said, I feel almost guilty saying this to you. But don't at times we need to be reminded, and don't we need to be stirred up from time to time? And we all know this stuff. But sometimes we just need to be encouraged to help each other. And some of you haven't been around here very long, and we need to show you that this isn't just something we get up here and say. This is something we're really trying to be. I went to a church a few years back, and somebody was bragging about how great this church was and how friendly this church was, and it was up in Kansas City, and the guy was a big guy. He was on PTL all the time, and I couldn't hardly wait to get to this church because Pam and I were kind of down. We were in the dumps, and we were kind of down and struggling in one of those struggling times, and we went into that church, and not one person came over and shook our hand or said, hi, how are you? What's your name? Not one person in that church. And I just told that story the other day is the reason I'm telling this. Because the other day when I was telling this story, and after I left, and I don't remember who I was telling the story to, but after I left, and the Spirit of God spoke to me and said, yeah, and you didn't shake anybody's hand in that church either, did you? Well, nobody shook my hand. Well, whose hand did you shake? I was down. I went for something. I just needed something, and I didn't get it. Well, but who did you try to help? Who did you try to pick up? Who did you try to build up? Who did you try to edify? Well, you know, it can be a lot of things, you know. You know somebody that's hurting, somebody that's struggling. Have you ever thought about taking them out to eat? Or inviting them over for dinner? Yeah, or taking them something over to eat or something, be nice, some way. You know, we don't pay attention to the little things. And sometimes it's the little bitty things that make the great big differences. You don't have to give somebody $20,000 to cheer them up. It might be a kind word. It might be a good gesture, a nice, friendly gesture. I don't know, and I say use this with discretion because it's Christmas time, and of course everybody's asking you to give. They're asking you to give to everything. They're just pumping this warm fuzzy feeling that we get inside of us, and they're just pumping it, and everybody's trying to get their share, and we don't do that around here. I'm not going to do that around here. I'm kind of tired of all that kind of stuff. But and usually in these types, what do? We run to the homeless people and give them something. Well, that's good. I mean, hey, as a church, we took some stuff. We gave them some money at Thanksgiving to give dinner, fix Thanksgiving dinner for a lot of the homeless people. We took a whole truckload full of stuff to Souls Harbor. I'm not patting ourselves on the back. I'm saying it's good to do that kind of thing. But we get so busy thinking about that we don't think about the people in our own household. Huh? If I see somebody hurting, I'm going to try to help them. If they're out here on the street, if I see, I'm going to try to help them. But I ought to be paying attention to you. And you ought to be paying attention to me. And we ought to be paying attention to each other. That makes sense? Because when you're weak, you need somebody strong. And when you're strong, you need to help somebody that's weak. So what are you doing? Have you ever thought about, including that person in your holiday plans? Let them feel, maybe it's somebody in here and they don't have a family. Is it maybe just letting somebody know that they belong somewhere. And I guess I'm just saying, won't we help somebody? There's sometimes I need help. I'm not going to come to you and say, Scott, I need help. I just picked on Scott because here a while back I was facing some stuff and I was just kind of down and I was a little discouraged. Scott sends me a text. See, you didn't even know this, but he sends me a text and says, Pastor, I just want to tell you I love you and appreciate you. And I read that text and I went, it's not quite as bad as I thought it was. I can handle that. I can take care of that thing. You just don't know. Just don't know. If you know somebody who's experienced loss, or maybe they've lost a loved one, maybe they've been through a traumatic divorce, maybe they've just been through some hard times, but can you do something to encourage them? Do something to help them through this hard time, this difficult time? Well, I don't know. It's just something to think about. I thought, what if while we're putting ornaments on the tree, everybody, while we're telling everybody we're family, I even did a little spot on TV and said, we're family. I said, while we're doing all this, wouldn't it be good if we really were? I hope you enjoyed that. I'd really like for you to hear the whole message. If you would like a CD, we'd be happy to send you one if you'll give us a call. Or if you just wanted to go to our website, cccjoplin.com, you can listen to all the messages. This one's entitled, Help Somebody. Hey, listen, I don't want to leave today without giving you an opportunity, if you don't know Jesus, to ask him into your heart. And if that's you, say this little prayer with me right now. Father, I want to be saved. Jesus, thank you for going to the cross for me. I give you my life right now. I want to live for you, but I need your help. So I thank you right now for saving me, and I thank you for helping me. And I pray this in your name. Amen. Hey, if you prayed that prayer, or maybe you didn't and you'd like to, give us a call. We'd like to pray with you, and we'd like to send you some information that'll help you get on your way. Hey, listen, till next week, why don't you help somebody? And I want you to know But I love you. More important than that, I want you to know that God loves you.